Let us bring Lee Camp on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Host of Redacted tonight, and a bunch of other stuff. Lee Camp.
Hello, good sir.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. I like how our number of platforms we're streaming on is slowly getting dwindled down. You know, it's soon it'll be like, yeah, okay, you're watching us live on. I think we're on wigglebots.com and Pornhub.
Wigglebots. I hope that's a real thing. God, I hope that's a real thing.
They just slowly suppress and demonetize, and
it's nuts. My subscriptions, I've lost, like, in the last year of being demonetized, I've lost probably almost 3,000 subscribers. Like,
yeah.
And my live streaming numbers are always super low. It's just like completely. Yeah, it's been a year of being demonetized.
And we got it. And all the content creators have to keep changing for whichever new platform, whatever they reward. So, you know, people are like, I'm on Twitch streaming for 18 hours straight. You can watch me cook my dinner tonight and sleep for 6 hours. And then the other people are like, I'm on TikTok. It's just 30 seconds of the episode at a time. We're going to reveal government secrets in 30-second increments with Baby Shark playing in the background.
Oh, God. I mean, when I started doing my show 5 years ago, I mean, if you said, hey, you know, you'd be earning your living from it exclusively, and I'd be like, that's cool. But then if you told me all this other crap I've had to go through, I'd be like, man, God, maybe I should have just done cat videos. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should have just done, hi, how are you? You know, I mean, I just sort of like sock puppets. I mean, I've done it. It's been a while. I haven't done it in forever, but I was doing Saki the Socialist.
Really?
Oh yeah. And he's just mean. And he says, and I'm like, oh, Saki, you can't say that. And he just says, you know, it's that. Well, let's do it right now. Let's bring Saki.
No. Oh, dear God.
Oh, hey. Let's put it on. Hi, I'm Saki the Socialist.
The amount of effort you put into that sock puppet is really, really impressive.
It's really amazing. I just found an old dress sock that I never wear and decided to put a dumb voice on it.
Someone please send Graham some googly eyes and some glue. I mean, the level of effort put into this show, just two googly eyes. Could anyone out there ship Graham some googly eyes, please? Maybe a fake cigar.
Yeah, and then we'll do their Saki. That's what I'm gonna do. My everything is sort of least effort. That the least effort that I can put in to anything, and still like get by. That's my goal. How was your capitalist Super Bowl Sunday, buddy? How was your celebration?
Did something happen on Sunday?
I think there was some kind of like an intramural game or something like that happened that they broadcast.
Usually most years in my life I have been at some kind of Super Bowl party, but this was one of the years where I didn't go to anything and didn't watch it. But I did hear that in a brave moment that changed everything across the United States of America, Eminem took a knee during the halftime show. I mean, that is real change that people can believe in. Now, here's the thing, I'm not faulting Eminem for doing that, but the way these articles act like, you know, this was fucking a Black Panther assassinating a cop or something, like, or even just Rosa Parks refusing to get up. It's like he did a very safe political statement on a very safe platform in a very safe way, in a very safe point in his career. I don't know that we should all act like this is the biggest thing that's ever happened.
Years after Kaepernick was kicked out of the league and the league has now apologized. It's just so funny. Like, this is the corporate sanitizing of that. Like, you know, the summer of 2020, when all the sports leagues just had they just put Black Lives Matter on the jerseys, and that was all the league was like, see, we've made change.
And Obama called the NBA and told the players not to strike.
Yeah, go back to playing basketball. Yeah, and they all did.
The thing you can do that's best for Black America is go back to playing basketball. That's what he told them, and they were like, well, he must be right, because it's not like Black Lives Matter started under Obama.
Right. I know. And nothing changed when he was president for 8 years. Yeah, it's
but yeah, big political moment. Eminem took a knee. Eminem took a knee.
I just love the theatrics of that. It's like, I'm sure someone's going to do something dumb at the Oscars. Like, oh, I love it when someone's like in $50,000 in jewelry, making a statement about the injustice of it all. Like
they have a little pin on that says like, I don't like it when dogs are beaten.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, she really turned this event upside down.
Thank God that she's wearing blood diamonds to make that point about wage inequities or whatever. Like, we need more female directors. Oh, really? So they can wear $100,000 dresses? Great.
Now, how about Eminem every day posts the name and story of someone who's been killed by the police? Like on his Twitter. Like every day. Could you imagine? I mean, I get the Super Bowl is watched by far more people, but that would be a far more substantive stance. But also it might hurt his Twitter follows or something.
Yeah, I mean, if he did that on it, I'm sure he's got 10 million people following him on Instagram or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they could do that. But it's safer to do it during the Pepsi halftime show. And they can all pat themselves in the back and said, we stood for something, as they get helicoptered out of SoFi Stadium back to their mansions and their private jets. So it's like, yeah. Good work, fellas. Really, really good. Like, and I hope that when he took a knee in that $5 billion stadium, I hope his helicopter rode over all of the tent cities in Los Angeles that stadium could have fixed. The money for that stadium could have fixed. And again, this is we're not just faulting Eminem. This is the NFL claims they knew he was going to do it and they were fine with it. Well, why are they fine with it? Because they realized it's not a risk to them any longer. Initially, they thought it might be, but now it's no risk to them. In fact, it makes them look good. I mean, I'm not saying that's why he did it. I don't think that's true, but it makes them look good. It makes them look like they care about Black lives while they don't. Like it's all window dressing. I mean, it's literally like, again, they're putting the Black Lives Matter on the jerseys and the courts of the NBA during the summer of during George Floyd. And it's all theatrics. I mean, it's all just like, it's all window dressing. If it's just like, nothing changes.
But if you turn on Fox News or several of the networks, you'd think that all the cops were apparently defunded this year. And it's just caused a great spike in crime because the cops were defunded. They weren't fucking defunded, like at all. In most cities, funding went up.
Yeah, the cops have not been defunded. Crime has gone up because people are losing their jobs. And oh, by the way, there's more guns in this country than people. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. So anyone's angry, pissed off, jealous, unemployed, and they have a gun, they can just make a split decision that costs people lives. So that's, I'm sure, has something to do with it. I doubt that all of the money that went to the 1% during all of these various stimulus plans under two presidents from both political parties, I'm sure that hasn't had anything to do with the people just being pissed off and hungry in America and resorting to crime and losing their shit and road rage and everything else.
Nope. It was because police funding went up, yes, but it didn't go up as much as we would have liked. That's what caused the spike in crime. It only went up a few $1 million in every city, and we wanted, like much more than that.
Yes. It's good stuff. But folks, welcome to Government Secrets, episode 72, Super Bowl edition. We're
not really.
Not really at all. Just talking about it. This is episode 72, sponsored by Pepsi Cola and Ameritrade and Doritos.
Not really.
I wish at this point I'm fine
That'd be
with
awesome.
corporates. I would like if they want to give me a 7-8 figure deal. I'm telling everybody right now, I would sell out so fucking quick. Just
Listen, if anyone at Hanes is listening, Graham would like a sock sponsorship for Saki the Socialist.
yes, Saki the Socialist, and you can put the Hanes logo across the sock so everybody sees it. I don't care.
I'll send you a diagram with multiple locations the Hanes logo could go.
Yes. I mean, at this point, they want to give me big 7-8 figure sponsorship deal. I would take it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't care.
Watch next week. Graham will just have Hanes tattooed across his forehead, and we'll never mention it. There'll never be any reference to it.
No, but I'll just say stuff like, well, I got this new underwear that's really comfortable.
And my nips feel great in this man's ear. So
man's ear. A lot of people out there wearing man's ears, are they?
Oh, huge market.
Well, I think Government Secrets has tapped into the biggest man's ear market on the planet, and we know this. Like, if you want to sell a man's ear, it comes through this show. I mean, that's pretty much
everyone knows that. Everyone knows that.
I'm just gonna weave in sentences like form fitting. You know what I mean? Just I don't know. I think this CIA operation was very form fitting and snug and yet breathable. It was a very breathable CIA operation.
Fun fact, Trump was only the third president to wear a man's ear throughout his entire administration. So, fun fact.
Henry Cabot, what was it? One of those earlier guys was afraid he would wear a cod piece in the Oval Office. So that was that was important. I was going to say Henry Cabot Lodge, but I'm like, that's the ambassador that sold out JFK in Vietnam. Sorry, getting my.
But weirdly, that sounds like the name of a president I wouldn't know.
So right,
like,
it
if
is.
You said Henry Cabot Lodge, I'd be like, oh, sure. Number 31, was it?
You could just piece together 3 old-timey names and people would believe you. Rutherford, Millhouse,
Calvin, Teddy, Jefferson Veldt. Jefferson Veldt was the fifth president.
Mortimer Westinghouse was, I think,
Freemasons.
I think he was our 23rd president. I forget which one.
Mason McFreemason. I always felt there was something going on with him. Like, I felt like he wasn't being honest with us.
Randall Secret Handshakington was he was a great president. He was a great president.
All right. Well, now that we're a half hour in without getting to a topic, I think we should do.
I was trying to see how long I could leg this out. Like how long we could riff before we actually got into a topic.
Just on president names. The title of this episode is listen to all the fake presidents we can name.
So do you have a This Week in GovSeeks?
I do. This Week in GovSeeks. February 16th, it says a couple days ago, February 16th, 1968, in Haleyvale, Alabama, was the first 911 emergency telephone system call. Wow. 1968. And I thought this was a good one to bring up because obviously that's not the government secret. But the reason they created the 911 system was to put together the numbers of like fire and hospital and police into one number. And mainly fire was the big push. The firefighters wanted one easy number that everyone could call all over the place. Didn't matter which county they were in, etc. But slowly, or maybe quickly, I don't quite know how long it took for this to become the norm. 911 became just a way for everyone to call in the police, which, let's face it, a good number, a high percentage of police are fucking morons with guns. Even if you want to say a lot of them are great guys who are really smart, a large percentage, morons with guns. So we now have a number, a very easy number to remember, that everyone can just call morons with guns and bring them into the situation. And it's a fucking disaster. And guess what? Of course, we end up with a very racist system But beyond just racist, you end up with a system where these people end up shooting a lot of unarmed or innocent people, over 1,000 a year. In other countries, it's like 7 or maybe 10 a year. If it's a country that kills a lot of people, it's like 10. Denmark, it's 0 a year. But in the US, it's 1,000, over 1,000 a year. And, part of that, there's a lot of reasons. We've gone over some of them before on this show, but one part of that is that people think the police are just a daddy that's going to solve everything. And so we have an easy number. We just type in 3 digits, and you call guys with guns. Too often deal with like music's too loud, or there's a black guy walking around outside, and I don't like the looks of that. Mm-hmm. And even if no one gets killed, you end up with people arrested, people beaten, just all kinds of fucked up situations end up going down because someone was creating a ruckus, or I saw a guy peeing in a fountain, or like, there's no reason you need guys with guns to deal with a dude peeing in a fountain. It's insanity. It's fucking insanity. And so we end up with this fucked up system that apparently only started in 1968.
Well, what a great moment in our history, and something we should all be proud of.
And, we've spent time on it before, so I'm not going to dig real deep into it. But just a couple of quick facts on our prison state here in the U.S. We have 22% of the world's prisoners.
Yes.
We have 4% of the world's population, if that gives you any idea of things. Millions of people locked up in prison, the largest number by far of any country. And if you were to do it per capita, so per 100,000, the U.S. would be something like 659 per 100,000. Which would be the top country in the world. The next one would be El Salvador with 511. And then you go a few notches down and you get to China with 121 per 100,000, way lower than the U.S., like 6 times lower than the U.S. imprisonment rate. And another interesting fact, because it is such a racist system, if you took Black Americans and counted them as a country on their own, so remember I said it'd be 659 690 something per 100,000 for the U.S. If you took Black Americans and just made them their own country, it would be 1,500 per 100,000. Way like 12 times, 13 times a higher incarceration rate than the people of China.
God. Like, there's no statistic. Like, is there any statistic that America's leading that's a good one? Like, are we number one in any of the good statistics? I mean, just like
yes. The availability of inflatable water wings that have black Santa Claus on them.
Oh, we did it. We fixed that problem. That was such a huge problem America had. Now it's fixed. Thank God.
We're number one in that regard.
Oh, I love it. Number one in fast food. We're just great. Everything is doing great.
Which by default, number one in diarrhea. So.
And number one in morbid obesity. Another one of the good ones we've got. All right. What that was this week in government secrets. So you want to do your segment first?
Sure. I got kind of an easy one. Unless you want to do yours.
I played a little CIA Operation bingo today, buddy. So I got a fantastic one ready to go, locked and loaded.
All right, we'll do CIA next, so we can lead up to the heavier topic. Although I have a feeling we'll find a way to make this one heavy, but I feel like it's in certain ways kind of lighter. Still racist. We're on the racist track this episode, or track. But so I didn't know this until, in fact, Jafar Khan, who's on Redacted tonight, he mentioned it, a 1-sentence mention in his piece that comes out tonight. And so I looked into the history of it. And Graham, do you have any idea the history of tipping and why it's far more prevalent in America than other countries?
My guess is because we don't pay our servers a real wage. Like, I've been to Australia where the bartenders are getting like 25 an hour. And I remember the first time I was there, and a local Aussie comic was like, don't tip them. They make really good money.
Right.
So we pay people crappy. Even so, our server minimum wage is below regular minimum wage because it's a way for our capitalist overlords to pass off salaries to the consumer rather than management.
Yep. All correct. All well said. And I'll get into some of the details on that. But to go back even a little further, it has to do with slavery. Yay.
Oh, awesome.
So it's not the first time anyone ever tipped. There was tipping in feudal England and stuff where it was a way for aristocrats to look so impressive. You know, they throw down extra money, just like, here, peasant, I don't even need it. It's just everywhere. You take this money. I just use it to wipe my ass. What am I doing with it? So because they started doing that, it then came to America in a very slight form, not common, to make people look rich, or if they were rich, to show how rich they were. And so there was that going on, but it didn't become like the norm until slavery ended. And these establishments, mainly service industry was the main one, wanted to basically continue to have slaves. How do we continue to have almost exclusively black people serve and do these jobs, but pay them nothing? And the answer was, we pay them nothing and expect the customer to pay them. So it became quite commonplace for during Reconstruction for African Americans to work almost exclusively for tips. And one of the most notorious examples, this is from a Politico article. And by the way, Politico, total liberal garbage outlet. But I've noticed this with certain historical articles. Then they're fairly accurate because that was way back then. They don't need to like do propaganda for way back then. They only need to do it for, this week and next week. So you can get, you could even get an article like this on NBC News as long as it's, a few years back.
Well, that's part of this sort of neoliberal propaganda is it's always like, it was always back then. We've talked about this before, even in terms of like the discussion of these awful CIA operations, that it's always like, well, back then they did, now the CIA doesn't matter. Like if that's the old days, like we fixed everything else.
Right. Almost makes people think, yeah, it's we're past it, because if we weren't past it, why would we be telling you the history?
Right.
Yeah. By the way, you can show that slide there. But so one of the most notorious examples comes from the Pullman Company, which hired newly freed African-American men as porters on the Pullman trains. Rather than paying them a real wage, Pullman provided the black porters with just a meager pittance, forcing them to rely on tips from their white clientele for most of their pay. Tipping further entrenched a unique and often racialized class structure in service jobs in which workers must please both the customer and the employer to earn anything at all. So this is a journalist quoting Carrie Seagrave's 2009 book, Tipping: An American Social History of Gratuities. But this was written in 1902. It said, "Negroes take tips, of course. One expects that of them. It is as a token of their inferiority. Tips go with servility, and no man who is a voter in this country is in the least justified in being in service." So it was both well, we want to keep slavery, and so this is a way to do it, and a way to show the superiority of the tipper. I am the one above you. I have the money to just throw at you. And so those who did not consider themselves of the lower class wouldn't even be in these jobs.
Oh, and also that leverage that, and if you're good, you'll get a good tip. If you're not, so you better, kowtow to me and kiss my ass, because I hold your ability to feed yourself and your family literally in my hands.
Yes, indeed. And several states sought to end the practice in early 1900s, often in recognition of the racist roots. So it's funny that like in the early 1900s, there was a large understanding that this had racist roots, because it wasn't that long ago that it was purely black former slaves that were getting tipped. And then we slowly just forgot that it had racist roots. And now, I just like when I was a service employee, when I was a waiter, I pretty much everybody in this country has no idea that this came from a racist history. But the restaurant industry fought back against those efforts and was powerful enough to roll back local bans on tipping. And tipped workers, along with most others, as the act applied to industries that together made up only 1/5 of the labor force, were excluded from the first limited federal minimum wage law passed in 1938. So minimum wage begins in 1938, but anybody who gets tips doesn't count. So at that time, it was almost, it was mostly black people don't count.
Wow. I mean, it's like it's not surprising at all, because really, like, this tipping thing is, again, just a small microcosm of what America always has been: racist and capitalist and greedy. Instead, and we've all been sold on the, we don't have a class structure like those countries in Europe. You can pull yourself up and work yourself up by your bootstraps. No, it's been literally, this is what systemic racism looks like. And now, obviously, today, I've waited tables, you've waited tables. Now it's more of a class issue, but of course it's rooted in racism,
Yeah.
and it's insane.
Yeah. And so 30 years later, so the minimum wage begins 1938. 30 years later, advocates win a base wage for tipped workers. But it was very low. And that it amounted to only 50% of the minimum wage for non-tipped workers. Congress continued to raise what they called, and it's called in the document, so this is a legal term according to Congress, the sub-minimum wage. You know why that's not a word? And in fact, when I type it into my computer, it underlines it in red because it's fucking not a word. Because minimum means the least acceptable. It is the bottom. You cannot have a fucking sub-minimum wage. That's not a goddamn thing, assholes.
It's the least possible thing we can do, but it's just below that. So just below the least possible way we can help you. It's just a click, half a click below the worst.
I mean, imagine in any other context, the minimum amount of water you need to survive is this much. But the sub-minimum amount of water that you might have, no, there's no other. If you're at the minimum, you're at the fucking bottom.
Oh, well, that's something that, honestly, this applies to, like, again, we have a sub-minimum healthcare system.
Yeah, we do. A lot of things in America are sub-minimum.
Oh, goodness.
So there's the sub-minimum wage. Congress continues to raise it with the minimum wage. I guess maybe matching that 50% amount until 1996, when a hero that, we unfortunately lost recently. It was a really tough loss. When Herman Cain, who headed the National Restaurant Association at the time, offered legislators a bargain. He said the industry would accept a small increase in minimum wage as long as the tipped wage was frozen at $2.13 an hour. And you know what it is today, Graham?
Oh, is it $2.13?
That is correct.
Yes. Oh, Herman Cain, taken from us too soon.
Yeah, really taken from us too soon.
Really?
Died from COVID from going to a Trump speech.
Because he didn't want to get vaccinated. Yeah.
Well, and wanted to go to a fucking Trump speech.
Yeah. Died from COVID because he went to a Trump speech.
$2.13 a fucking hour. And here's something, again, I did not know when I was waiting tables at age 20 at a fucking TGI Fridays and hating life. And by the way, I had shifts where I distinctly remember making like a lunch shift. So it was like five hours or something. And at least a few of them, I made $12 total.
But the thing is, though, Lee, out there, it was whatever Tuesday. In where you work, it was Friday. You know what I mean?
And it was wild.
I mean, how many times during that, 5-hour lunch shift where you made $12, did you get to sing the happy birthday song to some dipshit with a candle in his mud pie?
It's true. I did have that joy in my life. And I don't, for some odd reason, I would always try and have the candle light my clothing on fire. I don't know why that was.
Just accidentally cover yourself in
Yeah.
turpentine so you
In
could set yourself on fire.
in the alcohol-based mudslide. And just try and light myself because that seemed better. It seemed like a better option than singing the fucking happy birthday song.
How each time you sang that song, what did you do? Did you disassociate? Did you just stand in the back? Like what? How did you get through that song?
I think for those of us I think I only sang it a few times because for those of us who sucked so horribly at it, they stopped asking us because you had to go to sing it. Like the waiters had to go like round up several other waiters, which is a fucking annoying thing if everybody's running around trying to wait tables. And so I think they realized like they needed to get the people that could actually sing because Lee sucks.
Lee sucks. Oh, he can't sing at all. Lee sucks. This is a thing. Like if I ever were to get a hold of a time machine, I would go back to see a 20-year-old Lee Camp singing a happy birthday song in the TGI Fridays.
I will tell you this though, that when I applied to wait tables, the first thing I did when I walked in the place to see if I should apply, I waited to see if they had to wear flair, and if they did, I was not applying. So they were not, at that time, there was no flair. It was black t-shirts. But now looking back on it, I kind of wish there had been flair because I would have had all these, subliminal advertising in it. I would have like every pin would have spelled out ACAB or, just would have had just, would have spelled the first letter would have spelled fuck you all. Like,
yeah, I think that is a thing to be sad about, that you didn't get to wear flair, because that's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing you with that sort of referee striped shirt with flair or whatever.
Right.
And
getting walking away with $12. Yeah.
Did you have long hair back then, or what kind of hair did you have?
Short hair, man. I was pulling off the Graham Elwood. The retired Marine look.
Oh, a Marine haircut, Lee Camp at a TGI Fridays, slinging sliders around. Man, that just, God damn it. What a golden time in history. I worked at a pizza place in Chicago, Pacino's on East Wacker, 75 East Wacker. It's great pizza. And
what was your birthday song like?
We never did that. Somebody said it was their birthday. All we had was this one little dessert. We had this little brownie, and we'd put a candle in it and go, there you go, man. It was very
well, also, how fucking sad is it if you're at a pizza place telling them it's your birthday? That's fucking sad. It
was just like, here you go, man. It was so kind of like downtown Chicago. Like, there you go. I ain't singing for you. Like, I did have fun. I was right out of college. I did that job, and I was like a young comic trying to, I was doing open mics and stuff. And so I would work the lunch shift too, because I needed to be available at night.
Yeah. Same shit for me a few months after college. But so it stuck at 213. Now employers, this is what I'm going to say I didn't know when I worked as a waiter, and most waiters don't know. Employers are supposed to pay the difference if tips don't add up to minimum wage. So if you were to get, nowadays, if I got $12 for 5 hours, they owe me some fucking money.
Right.
But too often that law is not enforced. When the Department of Labor conducted an unusual compliance sweep of 9,000 full service restaurants between 2010 and 2012, they found that 84% had violated the sub minimum wage system. You don't say.
So there's minimum wage, then there's sub minimum wage, then 84% of the restaurants are not even paying the sub minimum wage. So you're getting sub minimum wage.
Well, they're paying the sub minimum wage, but they're not paying to make sure you get to the minimum wage, which is supposed to be how the system works. But yeah, it's just the royal fuck yourself wage is
Oh
what it
God.
should be called.
But at least you get to pay for your own health insurance in this country. So you got that on top of this
Yeah.
like double fuck sub minimum wage thing.
I believe at that time I had no health insurance. Yeah, exactly.
Why would you need it when you're just singing songs and, you know, delivering potato skins or whatever the fuck, chicken tenders?
Why would you need it when on literal Fridays and TGI Fridays, this place would become just like super fucking redneck and just like everybody's got probably got a gun in their waistband and they've 12 drinks in, and yeah, it was good times.
Where was this?
Richmond, Virginia.
Oh man. God, you worked at TGI Fridays in Virginia. Oh, I'd pay good money to see that. If I come back to DC and we do a live government secrets, can we go to that TGI Fridays?
Let's absolutely go there and we'll see my photo on the wall of fame. No, I'm kidding. It's all the other waiters. It's like graduated community college in 2006, and Robbie manages a comic book store. So there's that.
Lee works for Russian television.
Lee is a Russian fucking stooge, and to show that, we've drawn a penis on his picture.
They just photoshopped you with Putin, and they're like, "This is Lee. We're so proud of him."
So last kind of note on this, if you didn't think it was, racist and sexist enough, workers in the restaurant industry are far more likely to be poor or near poor than the general population. Sure, there are upscale restaurants where wealthy patrons offer servers good tips on expensive menu items, and those servers make a great living, but those jobs are few and far between. And big surprise, I know this is going to shock everyone listening at home, those jobs are dominated by white men. Research also shows that tipping itself has a racial component. Customers generally give white workers bigger tips than black workers, regardless of service quality. Thanks in part to segregation within the industry and discrimination from patrons, restaurant worker poverty rates are highest for women and people of color. And that in the industry, I think, is at, I don't know if it still is, but until recently was 75% women as well. So the whole system is sexist and racist.
Well, that's right. Right then is when I would cue the TGI Fridays staff singing the birthday song. Right?
Happy birthday, happy birthday. I don't know what the fucking song is.
This is your birthday song. Happy birthday song. Oh man. That again, I'm so proud to be an American. It just really like there's nothing better than this is the greatest country in the world.
Well, and for those at home who think we can only find government secrets in CIA operations, you can also find it in just everyday activities.
Just there's a government secret. There's a horrible history just when you go out to eat and
just
when you wait tables.
Just under the surface, just like your creme brulee out at the restaurant, just right under the cracking surface, there's a whole pile of shit.
There's a sweet spot of horrific racist lies and sexist and classist shit that you can just jam down your yap hole and pretend it's not there.
It's like a shit brulee.
It's like a detritus brulee.
Oh, Graham trying to use the word detritus. It was
detritus. Okay. I said it wrong, of course. That's fantastic. You say detritus. I say detritus.
Oh, man. You would have fit right in at TGI Fridays.
Oh, I'm going to go get a job there right now because it just sounds fun. And now I know I'll get tipped better. So come on. I mean, this is just fantastic.
There was a certain level of respect I had for the waiters. Like, I was right out of college. I had all these plans to be a comedian. Like, it sounds like you also had. There was some level of respect for the waiters that were like, I'm going to work as a waiter and then I'm going to fucking do a ton of blow after each shift. Like, that is the life plan, man. That is the plan.
Yeah, it was. It's one thing, and I'm sure you're this way too. When you go out to eat, you tip like 20, 25% or more, right? Like you're always
Yeah.
at least 20%. I'm more than 25 to 30%
Either
range.
that or I give them some sage advice. One or the other. I figure that's worth at least 25%.
Keep your chin up, sweetie. And then just
Yeah. They love that. They love that. When I just go, hey, in place of a tip, how about this? A bird in the bush is worth 2 hands in the bush.
I just go, here, I'll give you a tip, zip, and stick this in your mouth is usually what I do. That's how
Yeah, I'm sure that goes over great.
All right, let's go into government secrets. Second segment. Well, Lee, in my arduous research that I do before the show,
Yes,
I
indeed.
found
and your team of assistants.
My team of assistants. My rushing back home from yoga class to shower and find a subject, I came across this. CIA Operation Merlin. It was a United States covert operation under the Clinton administration. They've never done anything bad, to provide Iran with a flawed design for a component of a nuclear weapon, ostensibly in order to delay the alleged Iranian nuclear weapons program and to frame Iran. What is not in this, again, I'm using Wikipedia, which I'm not saying Wikipedia is great, but the stuff that's in here is, if it's in here, we can at least believe it up to that point. What's not in here, and I'll go into the details, is how insanely dangerous this is.
Right.
Like, whoops, we gave them the wrong stuff. Aha, they had a meltdown. Like, what?
Well, and also, can we just remind everyone that the U.S. has nuclear weapons, has dropped them, lost fucking activation keys. We're the only one to use them on human beings, killing hundreds of thousands. We're in no position to be like, no, only we are responsible enough to have the nukes.
Well, we talked about it on the last episode. Bombing the atolls and sending radioactive coral, that killed people. Our testing we've talked about all the spills and leaks. There's more we can cover, obviously, but just this show has shown that America has damaged more people and land and water than anybody using nuclear technology. We've done it more than anybody. And we always want to go, oh, Chernobyl, which was awful, but we've been doing that all over the world for decades. And
yeah, it's not good. It's not a good record. It's not a good record.
We have the audacity to say they shouldn't have this. Now, we should say what America really should say is no one should have this. It's awful. We're sorry for dropping 2 bombs in Japan, and we're getting rid of this because it's bad for everybody. No one should have this.
Right.
That's what we should do, but we don't. So, in his book, State of War, author and intelligence correspondent for the New York Times, James Reason, relates that the CIA chose a defective Ryzen, whatever. He's still an asshole.
Agreed.
Chose a defected Russian nuclear scientist to provide deliberately flawed nuclear warhead blueprints to Iranian officials in February of 2000. According to CIA documents, the search for a suitable Russian I don't know how to say this word, emigre with an engineering background in nuclear physics and production began in September 96. The Russian selected was first contacted by the CIA in August 94 and received a monthly salary of $5,000 plus travel expenses. Well, that's not a bad gig. In 97 and 98, which was raised to $6,000 beginning in February 99. The weapon component selected was based on the Russian TBA-480 fire set high voltage automatic block, which was modified in an attempt to make it fatally flawed. The CIA estimated that the TBA-480 fire set, which had been developed in Erasmus 16, was 20 years more advanced than anything required to get a first-generation nuclear weapon operational. After the delivery of the designs to Iran on March 3rd, 2000, the CIA extended the employment of the Russian to at least March of 2003, which would have gone then into Bush's presidency, with the intention of conveying the flawed TBA-480 plans to another country suspected of interest in developing nuclear weapons.
But yeah, that's a good point. Is that you said a fatal flaw, because what they don't just need it not to work, because they would, let's say the Iranians, try and test the thing or turn the thing on or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's not working, and then they would fix it. They needed to like fucking cause some catastrophic meltdown or some crazy shit in order for it to destroy the whole program.
Yeah. I mean, they're totally okay with this just literally blowing up, melting down, killing people, poisoning the land and the whatever, just to go, oh, see, they don't know what they're doing. Like,
yeah.
How insanely evil is this? And of course, we should note, this is all going down while America is all bent out of shape over a cocktail dress. So while we're literally putting the entire Middle East in danger,
right?
Everyone's like, Monica Lewinsky. Another thing, of course, that Clinton did was he repealed Glass-Steagall, which was like, FDR era banking regulation, which helped lead to the 2008 financial collapse. So yep. Our boy Bill was doing a lot of fun stuff back in 2000.
That's called multitasking right there. Getting a lot done.
So this is going to sound weird because this has never happened. All these CIA operations always work perfectly, but Operation Merlin backfired when the CIA's Russian contact messenger noticed flaws in the schematics and told the Iranian nuclear scientists. Instead of crippling Iran's nuclear program, the book alleges, Operation Merlin may have accelerated it.
That's amazing.
So our whole plan to subvert their thing ends up helping them. God, this kind of sounds like, gee, wasn't there like a 20-year war where we tried to get rid of this group and instead we left them with $80 billion worth of weaponry? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it rhymes with Afghanistan or I can't. 20 years. Oh, what was it? The Balakan or Taliban or something? Who do we? I can't think of it.
The Smurfs.
We tried to get the Smurfs out of power, and then 20 years later, we just left.
If you're talking about like backfire and blowback, I don't think we've ever had any of that. I don't think we've ever seen any chickens come home to roost. Never the once.
We should just get a flow chart, like how many CIA operations have actually worked. Like, what's their success rate? Like 5%? Like 9? Like when have they?
Well, and it's like, yeah, some of them work in a catastrophic way. It's like,
right.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip, bringing the Nazis over to help us scientifically. Yeah, it worked. I mean, we got to the moon, but
right,
maybe not the best plan.
Yeah. Now we have Nazis literally entrenched in our government for decades. It's a good system. Once the flaws were identified, the plans could be compared with other sources, such as those presumed to have been provided by the Iranians. So, gosh, it's so great.
This is right up there with putting the walkie-talkie, sewing the walkie-talkie inside the cat and releasing it in Moscow. This is right up there with that.
Yep. Or Operation Midnight Climax, where they just had some sex dungeon or whatever for the CIA guys to get blown in. In late 2010, former CIA officer Jeffrey Alexander Sterling was indicted for allegedly being the source of some of the information in Rison's book, and was convicted of espionage in 2015. He was convicted and sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. Oh, Patsy, little scapegoat.
Yeah.
Got a 3.5
Well,
year sentence.
as with John Kiriakou, basically the people that actually get locked up are those who reveal the crimes of our war machine.
So that's Operation Merlin, another fantastic thing that didn't do the thing it was supposed to do, and then they covered up and lied about it. So that is.
By the way, fun government secrets extra. James Risen was the man who was going to write an article for the New York. He was at the New York Times, going to write an article for the New York Times about Bush's torture program, the torture going on around the world under Bush. And it was right before the 2004 election. And New York Times didn't want to, ruffle any feathers or upset the government, who said, well, you can never report that article, So, they didn't report it. Bush got reelected. And Risen eventually, when they kept putting him off, left the New York Times and put out a book about it because they wouldn't let him report on it. So there's your New York Times covering up for torturers.
Nice. That's fantastic. It's really, I'm glad the New York Times has covered up for torturers. I mean, them and the Washington Post have done great work. And, we should all be excited that we have freedom of press.
Yep. In terms of defending torturers, they are some of the best.
They're some of the best.
Some of the best.
They love the Washington Post and the New York Times loves war. So it's good stuff.
They're trying to create one right now.
Yes. And it's fantastic to note that I just went to Open Secrets. I've done a couple of videos on this. Donald Trump was given $2.7 million by the defense industry. Do you want to know who was given more in 2020?
Hold on. Kirsten Gillibrand.
Yeah, for some reason they just really decided to just they really doubled down on Kirsten.
Yeah,
getting in the White House.
Really love her.
Well, Trump got 2.7 million. This other guy got 3.1 million. And he still has a job in government, unlike Trump.
Is he a dead ringer for the guy who hosted Tales from the Crypt?
Does he have narcolepsy at climate summits? Does he? Yeah, Joe Biden got more money from the defense industry for the 2020 campaign than Donald Trump did.
And the defense industry is loving this latest buildup for war. By the way, all you liberals out there who said, Biden has proven what a peacemaker he is because he withdrew the troops from Afghanistan while killing more people with economic war on Afghanistan. Seems like you might have spoken too soon.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch this playbook happen. So probably Trump or Biden won't finish this first term because of his cognitive decline. And Kamala Harris, who has even a worse approval rating than Joe Biden, will step in there. But we will have a combination of some sort of war in the Ukraine and sending troops over there. And either Trump will just flat out run again in 2024, or some other, just like General Mattis, or just a full-on fascist will be running. So then everybody will be like, you got to vote for Kamala. Look, I know she's not perfect. And it's even if Biden stays it, because he claims he's running again, even if they weekend at Bernie's him and they prop him up and drag him around with, scarecrow sticks holding his arms up, it will be him versus either Trump or Mike Pompeo, or like you said, Mad Dog Mattis, one of these fucking horrific, awful fucking maniacs, and they'll handily defeat him. Both because he is so pathetic, the Democrats stand for nothing, on top of the fact that you have massive vote purging. You have one voting machine in black districts that have fucking 10 million people. So you got 10 million people in line for one machine and all that shit. So they'll beat him fairly easily, whether it's Trump or one of the other maniacs. Yep. I think ultimately, yeah, it'll be whatever. Everyone's like, oh, there's Biden and Kamala's approval ratings are so bad. I said that won't matter. That doesn't matter at all. They both, the two of them, were the least likely. I mean, Kamala dropped out of the primary before Iowa. Joe Biden was in like 4th place or something.
Yeah, Joe Biden got to the 3rd contest and hadn't won one and came in like 2nd in one. Like he hadn't won a single one.
Yeah. Yep. And then suddenly now these are the two people who got the most money from billionaires just happen to be the ones in the White House. I mean, give me a break. Like,
by the way, we could do a whole segment on this, but I just did it for Redacted tonight. Last election cost $14.4 billion.
yes.
The averages in Britain, Germany, France are all like under 100 million. And this is 14.4 billion. Sheldon Adelson, who thank goodness is still dead as far as last I checked. But he wasn't during the election. He and his wife alone donated, I think it was $127 million, maybe. So they themselves donated more than the entire elections in countries like Germany, France, England. And on top of that, the person who spends the most on the election wins in the House like 90% of the time and in the Senate like 80% of the time. But what we don't, and people talk about that number, but they don't focus on the fact that the two candidates that spend the most, meaning the two corporate shithead candidates, they win 100% of the time. Yes. So the two fucking pieces of shit, corporate owned garbage human beings win 100% of the time.
Every time. So it won't matter. Approval ratings and all that mean absolutely nothing. It's like they mean absolutely nothing. Well, this was another fun, exciting episode. Folks, when you go out to eat, just remember it's part of a horrific bag of lies.
Well, if you tip very heavily, maybe you'll even it out. But then again, that's corporate America putting the burden on you instead of the company.
Yeah. So if there's a profitable restaurant, they should be taking care of that, not you.
I always leave like a peanut butter and jelly in a sandwich bag in the back of like every Uber ride I take. You know, just a little something for him.
I always tip well. I mean, because I want to support the worker as best I can, but it is a bullshit system. I'm not mad at the worker. I'm mad at the fact that like Uber, Lyft, and these restaurants aren't paying their people good wages. Like it's preposterous. But well, all right, dude. Where can people watch all your fancy business?
I'm at leecamp.com. You can get it all there. The new Redacted Tonight comes out tonight, and my interview with Roger Waters came out this week, and that's up at leecamp.com.
Sweet. Like, share, subscribe to everything I'm doing. A new episode of Anything Can Happen, the political game show. Lee, you've been on it. That is, we just recorded that last night, and that's only available either if you go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Graham Elwood, or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. It's all behind the paywall. Check that out. And, support us here at liberapay.com/government secrets. It's on the screen right there. And so we can keep doing these because it's a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. I will see you in a week's time.
You got it, buddy. Next Friday?
I hope so. I'll give you a 90% on that.
I look forward to your text either late Thursday night or early Friday morning.
I look forward to your text at 5:55 telling me the topic you're doing.
I didn't even tell you today. I just came in hot. I just came in blind.
Just came steaming in full of a hidden topic.
That's why we started late, because I was looking up Operation Merlin.
Whenever Graham says tech issues, you now know what that means.
Yeah, it just means I'm like, oh shit, I better find a topic.
All right, man. I'll see you.
All right, buddy. Have a good weekend.